into the structure in the emotion.
Well said.
But it definitely gave me a map. So I think both are valuable to kind of have the information and then to have the space to experience the information and integrate it. You can only experience it when you manage to integrate it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think of everybody's experience in the group, it's been that pivotal part that has revealed everybody's genius for themselves, probably more for others before themselves, but that's kind of what's brought them to that. Morning, Craig.
Morning, Allison.
How are you today?
Wow.
Good morning, Craig. Those are usually good mornings. When he starts with a wow.
Yeah.
We're discussing structure. We both had structure on our mind first thing this morning.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'll just continue here with it, Allison.
Mm-hmm.
Like what the thought that came to me that I'm just sharing with you this morning was the structure of want and don't want, right? It's like that is it's like the human essence.
Yes, the push and the pull.
The human core between the desire, right? The want. What's the other side? The want.
You don't want is the other side, surely, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that thing of always looking at the other side is really important and really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's the structure.
So, but here's a thing too that's just come to mind for me. As you say that, from psychoanalytic theory, this woman, Melanie Klein, she came up with a really good theory. I hated her techniques. But her theory was one of the things that I still use to this day is to watch for integration as opposed to splitting. And splitting is when we go from one extreme to the other. And integration is when we are mostly in the space between. She called it holding the ambivalence. So you can hold the extremes, but you operate in the gray. So you don't run away from either of the extremes, because that gives you perspective and growth, emotional growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how we develop that capacity physically as our brains develop, right? For little kids, it's mostly want and don't want. because there's no frontal cortex developed yet. So the older we be, the more we grow up, the more we're able to do that and to hold it all, but respond. That's why I have a different way of working with those two words, Jess, to what you do. For me, reacting and responding are two very different things. For me, reacting is reacting immediately.
Mhm.
It's like what you guys were talking about the other day in terms of impulse control. Whereas responding is holding that extreme emotion and having the space to choose how you're going to act. So it's just a different interpretation of the words, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's a structure. I'd never thought of it as a structure, but that is a structure.
Mhm. A relation. You related to something. So, said another way, you and something.
Ah, nice.
Mm.
Very nice. I like it.
And part of the division, the separation, is we separate ourselves from it and we put two others in its place.
That's
Meaning, well, you separated yourself from respond and react. And so it was those two, you observing those without seeing the and you had to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we take it as, oh, that's our truth. That's the truth. And so it's a implied relationship, but it leaves no space when it's that way.
Yes. If we attach, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. Great. So I'm going to ask Craig. Craig, what is the other side of, so Allison, just for clarification again, to the other side of want for you?
For me, it was don't want.
Don't want. Want, don't want. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Craig, do you have one? Want? In here, let me, for others, is to go with the first thing that comes up, that something that comes up, that first something. That is what's important.
Okay, I'll be kind of concise here, as concise as I can, but what I've been learning over the last 20 years, as I've been kicking this around that long, there's something about being in this human experience that, for me, has been examining what's not. Okay, so when I've talked the last few months about rediscovering my true nature, what I realized about that is that I've lived most of my life in the not side of my true nature. So in living in actually experiencing what's not my true nature, that's facilitated discovering what my true nature actually is. So in other words, and here's what this, how this has come to me. When I experienced a very subjective presence of God experience, these are the words that came to me. I'm not who you think I am. It was as if God was speaking to my heart and saying, Craig, I'm not who you think I am.
Mhm.
I'm not who your thinker thinks. In fact, your thinker can't know who I am.
Mhm.
Okay? But your thinker can know who I'm not. And when you've eliminated enough knots, the I am becomes clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like that's really hard to explain.
Well, I don't find it hard to understand at all.
Yeah. So life for me it's been a real experimentation.
Yeah. So how does that? What about Jesse's question triggered that? He was asking, what's on the other side of want for you?
Not.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
So so that's what I'm trying to say, Allison, is that I agree with you too. And the thing is, the not is not definable either. It's just not. so the opposite of want is not.
So, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but I'll just say this, some of the yoga mantras are, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I hear expressed in those statements is about identifying with it. I am not the body. So is my identity tied to my body? And for me, the answer to that question has turned out to be no. My identity isn't tied to my body. I mean, this is only a temporary expression of who I actually am. It's one iteration of many. But it's not me. But it's the space that I occupy at this particular time and space in human history. Or in Earth history, if you want to get technical.
So Allison, if I think I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, that would throw me into the question, then what am I?
That's right. And it's the what am I,
Mhm.
not who, but the what.
Yeah.
I love that distinction. That helps me a lot to drop the identification with the personality. I'm saying me.
So I find, and what that is,
Yeah.
that
Who implies identity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, but so does me, Craig.
Well, yeah.
It's so difficult because our
But that's our
language.
language, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, exactly. That's why I'm laughing. But we are, I mean, the whole point of life is that we do start off in contrast. That's all that's the whole point of it.
Well, as an individual, or
Yes.
as an apparently separate.
Yes, because our bodies aren't, we're not born conjoint. Our
Right.
bodies have got a boundary. So it's one body at a time.
Well, and that's one of the fundamental knots to realize
Yes.
is that I'm not separate.
Oh yeah. That is the most,
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's,
that's the most fundamental. I think you
Yeah.
start off just with being able to recognize it.
yeah. But it's understandable that gets assumed,
100%, totally.
because it's apparent. I mean, it's like,
We live through our senses.
yeah, that's the weird thing about individuation,
Mm-hmm.
So as Jesse mentioned a couple of days ago, there's indigenous people don't have words for ownership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know it changes the language, the structure of the language completely, which then changes how we communicate,
Yes.
in ourselves and with others. Hi, Nikki.
Hey, Alison. Hi, everybody.
good morning,
Morning to
Nikki.
you.
Happy 4th of July.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yes, sorry,
Oh,
guys.
wow, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talking about
Good morning. What's that?
talking about ownership.
Ah, interesting.
Mm.
Mm.
We had our ownership day on the 1st. On Saturday, it was Canada Day.
Mm.
So we're observing structure.
Mm.
And we just spent some time exploring the question. The question is, there's what we want. That's what we want.
Mm.
And so for you, what's the opposite? What's on the other side of want?
Not having.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Not having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So introducing the word having. Don't want, we had don't want,
Mm.
and then we have don't have.
Mm.
is, and my immediate, my first one, Allison, because you've asked, I go to can't have, or, yeah, can't have.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone struggles.
Mm.
It just seems like it's everyone's struggle.
Mhm. Well, then I think that's the owning, that's the attachment, that's
Mm,
that's why they will never have it, is that's the structure.
yeah, that's it.
So this brings something in for me. One of the first things that I read that really attracted me to yoga was this very well-known guy, Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Mm,
And he said, want what you do have, don't want what you don't have,
mm,
and you will be happy.
mm,
Mm,
And that sounded impossible to me at the time.
Mhm.
But I thought that was the easiest advice. I didn't have to spend money on anything.
Mm.
I just had to work with my emotions. And here I am, 42, 44 years later. I was 20 at the time when I got that little saying.
you know, it's funny, Allison, because Jesus said the same thing.
But I didn't like the Bible.
Yeah, he
I
said to him
confused
who
the Bible
has,
with his teachings.
yeah, to him who has shall more be given.
mm. Repeat that. Repeat that.
To him who has shall more be given.
So his is a step higher to what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
Because to have, in what he was saying was, if you have joy, you'll get more joy.
Mm,
And the yoga thing is, how do you get more joy? Have what you have. Want what you have. Don't want what you don't have.
Yeah.
mm. And it can only be in the present.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, to me, those communicate the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but they, as Jesse would say, they're almost on the other side of each other, right? It's step one first and then step two.
Mm,
Well, Jesus always put having first.
mm,
You know, we hear it in contemporary life, the be, do, and have.
yes.
I mean, I've even heard Chris Duncan say that in that order. And to me, the order is out of whack. The having is first.
The having. Wow.
But you can't do it both ways, Craig. They don't have to exclude each other. You're just talking about different levels, that's all.
Mm.
And one level leads to the next. Right? That's how I see it anyway.
Mm,
And it's valuable for me to have all those things, like just like we did now with what's on the other side for everybody. Look how many coordinates there are.
Yeah.
And that's valuable for people.
Mm,
So then I go back to got such a love-hate relationship with psychoanalytic theory. But holding the ambivalence, I mean, it's a very it's a profound liberation, emotional liberation, to be able to do that. I'll share a little story, Craig. I had a little boy in therapy. He was 8 at the time, and there was a lot of difficulty, social anxiety and things like that for him. So it was towards, we had about a month left. And so I told him, we've only got another 4 sessions. And there was a bee in the playroom. A bee had gotten into the playroom. And he wanted to catch the bee. So we had a long discussion about what he would do if he caught the bee, how we could catch the bee, all of this, okay? And in the end, he managed to capture the bee in a bottle. I had a net there, so he could, he managed to do it that day. He was determined, boy. So he goes home with his mom with the bee in the bottle. And I said to his mom in front of him, I said, maybe if he really needs to keep it, just remember to put a net top on. So she said to him, James, will you remember that we have to do this when we get home? Yes. So, of course, what happened next time he comes with a bottle and a dead bee and tears. So this is a week later, and this kid is still crying about the bee. So we have a little burial ceremony, and then we talk about the joy of having the bee with him in the classroom. And how did he feel when he captured it? And he looked at me and he said, you might not believe me, but when I caught it, I was so happy. And there was a little voice that said, this is sad. And so we spoke about having happy and sad in a bottle. And what he learned from it, because when they got home, he didn't want to put a netting onto the top of the bottle because he was scared the bee would get out. And then he wouldn't have the bee anymore. So we talked about the having. And I mean, this is 32 years later for me. I still remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And he was 8 at the time, and we were taught that at that time, kids can't, because they don't have their frontal cortex developed fully, they can't.
Right.
And you give them time and attention, they can do it.
Absolutely.
Because that's all you do in therapy. That's
totally.
all you do.
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
And
you
it's
don't
almost
need
like
your
you give-
prefrontal cortex to do that.
Yeah.
Think like that.
And guess why? Because you've got chance to enter the heart.
Yeah, but if you don't mind me saying there, Alistair, this is very, very interesting because you gave him purpose. You gave him actually a purpose. And through that, his self-esteem arose because he knew he had purpose. And that to me is very, very beautiful. Because it's not about what a person looks like or what they it's that purpose of giving him that self-esteem. And I think that's what's so beautiful about things that people can really receive, because what came to me this morning is that there's no right and wrong. There's only yours.
That's right.
Yeah.
Immediately my response is, that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was like, yeah, and to me that's it's very interesting.
Mm.
And yeah, so it's a very beautiful thing.
Time and attention, right? So
Right,
think,
right,
you think
exactly.
about what Jesse
Exactly.
talks about so often is time and space.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
what's the charge in this space?
yeah. Oh, so good. So good. Yeah. It's really nice to be able to be on the journey, but when it comes around that you get it, you get the meaning of whatever you were experiencing all the time. And that what brings it alive for you, you know. And when
Yeah.
it's alive and charged in you, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Because in the end of the day, when we say the end of the day, it's a matter of speaking, just like Craig says, that's beside the point. I have to bring that up because it's
Thanks,
it's
Nikki.
really, yeah, it's just like a classic one for me, and it just rings bells. But everything we hear is opinion, not a fact.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's an
Everything we
expression of
see,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, everything we see is a perspective, not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, I think you were on the call, but I tell you, that was getting the right word, yeah, because I don't think I have a word for that, because it was absolutely, yeah, like in a bottle for me.
Mm. Mm.
And whatever was in the bottle died in the bottle. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can now have so much explanation of what I was carrying all this time unconsciously.
Mm.
And that's what I think brings a lot of joy to one's meaning of one's life, that you can now get to really celebrate the meaning of life. Because life is so precious, you know.
And the value of it, Amy.
Yeah. And to breathe and to breathe and to breathe and to breathe. Like really like inhale that breath and just like let it just like I just yesterday I've never felt so alive in my life. It was like, and then I realized how I was holding my breath because it was still that, and then I just allowed it to just, and I could feel that releasing all throughout the day, just by my breath, not by my words, not by my actions, not by what I was doing, but just by my presence of breathing. Inhaling it and exhaling it and inhaling it and exhaling. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And that doesn't cost nothing, but it costs everything when you don't have it. No,
Yes.
seriously, absolutely, absolutely. And that made me even more so like, no, this ain't going to stop me now. You know, I don't know. But what I do know is this. And that's all that matters for me. I don't even need to really allow anything else. You know,
Yeah.
it's just, it's a message it's like, you know, that message in the bottle, as you said. Mm.
So you remember the other day, Nikki, Pascal said something about that he can't, at the moment, he can't identify with any desire.
Yeah, I remember.
And he had that conversation in his head with himself about it.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, and that's, it sounds like, well, what you were saying reminded me of that. It sounds like a very similar state. Just being in everything that the now is.
Yes. Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
And so the other thing, Jess, that I also woke up was this morning, or otherwise I went to bed with it last night, was from your video, was that the now has structure too.
Mm.
So the first point also has structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What structure does now have?
I think it's what I said in the text. That's what I'm realizing.
Let's see. I must read it. Oh, there's nothing in the text.
No, I didn't put it in the chat, Nikki. Sorry. I
Oh.
sent it to him this morning. I meant to send it later, but
Did you send it in the heart chat? In the heart chat?
No, I didn't. I'll do that
Oh,
again.
you said, did you send it directly to someone?
Yeah. And
Oh,
what I've got it in my head, I
okay.
think. I mean, I've got
Okay.
it on my phone, obviously. Maybe I should
Yeah.
just read it because otherwise I can't.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
I'm feeling butterflies in my stomach, in my chest.
Right, I did write structure in the now.
Yes.
Vortex goes up and out in alignment. In other words, when we're aligned with the personality, the unconscious, and the field. And it goes down when we are in psychological tension.
Mm.
It also goes in a flat circle if we are in creative structure without being in full alignment to consciousness or the field.
Mm.
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 So
Yes.
for me, the flat circle is, it can go very wide, right? It can go really, 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 really wide. And in 3D, you've got an enormous amount of space with that.
Mm.
But
Mm.
you won't go
Yeah.
upwards
Wow.
as easily as if you are connected into the field. And I'll just add this for me. When you're connected with the field, what you create is more sustainable. And you can create immensely amazing and wonderful things. If you're in that flat circle, but it won't be as sustainable. Because if you're connected with the field, you will go according to the laws of nature. And there'll be much more that you will include in your design.
Can you stop there for a second, please, Allison?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. The laws of nature. The laws of nature are in the field.
Mhm.
You know,
we tend to assume that the laws of nature are in the environment
So,
or in the physical environment.
yeah, can I say something to that?
Sure, please.
So from what I've, in my experience in working with the people that I've worked with that do work for the environment, they come from many, many, many different walks of life. And the ones, how can I say this? They're innately connected to the field. You're connected to the earth, you're connected to the field.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. And to different degrees, right? You still get people that are activists in the environment that seem not to be connected to the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because of their attitude in the activism.
So the missing piece is the connection.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
I mean, I don't really understand much about the laws of nature. Physics baffles my mind completely, boggles my mind. Math, I can't do. But there's another level at which I can see things which other people can't.
Yeah.
Just been very, very, very blessed in that way.
See, here's something that's really been fascinating me the last few weeks. Is the assumptions that have been made generally about what is nature, what is natural, what is normal.
Oh, those are very different things.
Well,
languaging, put it that way.
Yeah, in the languaging, but I'm okay. So let's talk about since we kind of started this by talking about true nature. What I had suggested was the realization that my true nature isn't really found in my physical existence.
That your physical existence will be the vehicle through which.
Right. My true nature expresses itself.
That's right. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that realization seems to run counter to the way that humanity currently operates.
Yeah. To the dominant force in the world at the moment.
Correct.
And so now I'm asking you because I'm asking, not because I know at all.
Yeah.
What's the structure of that? What are the coordinates of the structure? Either one. Go with the one that comes first.
Yeah, the foundation of that structure that society is in at the moment is that nature is this. Nature is the reality that we're observing right now. And that is natural. But what's coming to me is that what we're observing right now is a huge deviation from what's natural.
And what's your structure in that? Or what are your coordinates?
Well, what I keep coming up with is not. This isn't.
And so if I were a yoga teacher, I imagine that I would ask you right now, what are you then? You can hear my teacher's voice in my head as you can hear.
Yeah, I can.
And good use of structure.
Mm.
Yeah, what's coming to me is like a temporarily differentiated piece of all that is.
I really like that, Craig. I think he would be very happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a very there's a very real purpose and intention in that.
Because all that is holds intention and purpose.
Correct.
And its intention and purpose is life. And life is, in my words, momentum and creation. Maybe creation comes first. These two are very closely entwined in my head.
So you said creation and what?
Momentum.
Ah,
And when we think of the heart as an organ, each organ is so incredible in terms of what they perform, what function they perform. But because of the heart, they can all function 24/7. And that is momentum and creation. And it's a direct result of the pulse of the electromagnetic field. And how we facilitate the pulsing of that in our bodies.
mm. Well, here's what just came to me now was about the being trapped in a concept.
And so what comes to mind for me with that is what the real gift I think that I've gotten from Jesse is, okay, so I'm trapped. So what's the structure? What structure am I in? And then how do I change the structure? I change it by choosing different coordinates. And as Nikki reminded me this morning, what coordinates do I want to focus on? So that's my way out of being trapped.
Change the concept.
It changes many things.
No, but that's what I can do. I can change the concept.
Right.
Because the structure's been built around the concept.
Wonderful realization.
Yeah, yeah. And in this case, the concept is a is an equilibrium or an idea of an equilibrium. that turns out to be not.
And in contrast, if I was to, in contrast to domination, meaning the majority concept of the earth today from a dominating. To circle it back to the structure that I was listening to. So if you think about the 2 points, one point being equal, the other point being domination. You can look at the difference, the contrast.
Hmm.
In all reality, we can say, well, is domination higher than equilibrium, than equal?
Yeah.
For one group, it is, and for the other group, it isn't.
So what if the equal we're going after, the equal that we're trying to achieve, isn't in the right place?
Well, then my question would be, is it equal we're going for?
That's my point. Really.
Maybe there's a bit of confusion for people generally.
A better what?
Without a doubt,
Allison?
without a doubt.
I'm sorry, Allison, I didn't hear what you said.
So the confusion that I was thinking of before Jesse said what he said. No, it wasn't before. I was thinking about what's in between the domination and the equal. And what came up for me then, and this was also because of something that I listened to last night on Next Level Soul, it was one of his interviews, was about the confusion, because we don't know. And the confusion is, for me, is when people hear equal, they very often think then everything is the same. And there's a difference. Things aren't the same. You need diversity for life, like we spoke to the other day. It's essential. Just and if you want to understand that, you just go to ecosystems. And at the same time, you can't just throw any diversity in. There's an intelligence that tells you what is needed in what ecosystem. And you've got to attune yourself to that. As you've got to attune yourself to your body. So if there's confusion, what is that structure? And how does one then, I'll say this again, what coordinates does one choose to change the structure? And maybe that's where your thing about trying to put equal in the wrong place comes in. I welcome any input on that. I'm not sure that I've right with what I've said.
See, there's this underlying assumption in social science that says that human beings have always been this way, the way we are now.
But the way that we are now is incredibly diverse, Craig. And that always has been true. There's enormous diversity for eons. Way long before Christ even was on the earth in his body.
Yeah.
And I will say that the majority of people today hold that thinking. Meaning there's no real thought to people, to generations before them. I mean, why would you? It does no good.
Yeah. Well, and there's also an assumption that progress has been made.
Yes,
Mhm.
that I agree with totally.
Once you can't argue, I mean, you can, but I mean, it's pretty hard to defeat, to poke a hole in progress.
Yeah, but there's
From-
an underlying
the-
bias in it.
Always, that's structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the structure.
Okay, so Des, sorry, but tell me, please, what are the coordinates of that structure and what does that structure look like?
What I would say to it, there's a version of no one has ever had it as hard as I have. So what am I looking for in the structure is, where is it trapped? Where is the momentum?
Oh, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Because the energy is just a result of the structure.
Of course.
The space. So
Oh, God. Okay.
right. So to say, like, yes, there's been progress. And I think, Craig, what you're really going for is there a higher degree?
Of
Is there
evolving.
yeah, it's like, or maybe that, like, we've been, what I hear is that there's that lack of a better term is that, damn it, we're under a curse, get out of it.
Yeah.
That's what I hear your structure coming at us with.
Mm.
And it's, yeah, and it's like, okay, so if that is and if the curse is, like, I'd say the curse now, let's call it, or like as a evolution of it, is probably the experiment of greed.
Yeah. It's one of them.
What-
Yeah.
which is a demonstration of domination, right? Because if we speak about the earth, it has been dominating nature. That's
Yeah,
been the
the thing is,
experiment.
the language of Genesis is like that too. It says, have dominion.
And so if I think of how I think of the equal, how we've introduced it, to me, it's a stepping stone from dominating to equal to then something else. And see how that's momentum.
Yeah.
Now, again, depending on what side you're trapped in, domination is what you're fighting for. That's what keeps it in existence.
Okay, but you can have dominion as a manipulator, or you can have dominion as a magician.
True. How I relate to dominion or domination. One wins, one loses.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it more as more as mastery
Of yourself. Sorry, I interjected there, but that's what it
Yeah.
would
Well, yeah, and that's the core of mastery. Like back to the Hermetic principle is as within, so without.
exactly. And so maybe having dominion of the earth is actually having dominion of you. Your body.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so how the best way I think about equal, it's in the self realm, but it can be, I think, applied. It's lead and follow.
Yes.
Equal.
Because there's equal value.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has the same value. Not everybody has the same skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the point of equal is not to make sure it's equal on both sides of the equation. It's to be aware of where your dominance is, where your majority is, so you can counterbalance them.
I would agree.
Not so that you're equal, just so that you're aware. That's why.
Yeah.
It's just the awareness to be, to question, do I lead or follow in this now?
Yeah. In this instance. Yeah.
Do I speak or do I listen? That's the equal. Like, it's not that it has to be equal. Like we think of equal, it has to equal 0. No, it's just the awareness of the equal.
Yeah.
Of the awareness of the equal value, Jess. For me, if I add that word, then it keeps my focus.
Yeah, good. It's a
Sharper.
good context to put it in. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the greed, those that have the greed's not a good one, but if we rich and poor is another way of looking at it. The rich don't want to give up what they're doing, and the poor want them to.
Maybe need them to.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Not give up what they're doing, but say, oh, for whatever you're doing, give me your result, give me your outcome.
Share your outcome.
Huh?
Share your outcome. S-H-A-R-E.
Oh yeah, share your outcome. Yeah, right. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Number one.
Well, I earned it, so I can't do that. Or I deserved it, so I can't do
Right.
that.
Right. So my point to the is notice the equal between the two.
Mm.
Yeah, that's all. Like, so I see that's where I see it as like equal as a stepping stone. Now, how the hell to get there? Don't know. No idea. But it won't look how I think it looks.
So there's I'm like a dog with a bone this morning. There's that earning and that deserving comes from a structure.
Yes.
Yes.
And
both are stuck, right? Both of them are stuck on their side of the structure.
Yeah.
that earning, for instance, is there because specific rules got laid down.
Yes.
And certain people know how to play those rules very, very well. And others don't.
Manipulate.
Yeah. But in that instance, manipulate and play is probably the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the rules are most definitely not made to allow for diversity. They're not made for everybody to benefit from. So it's BS.
Yeah.
They didn't start equally.
Yeah. Because there wasn't an appreciation of diversity.
Or equality.
Yep.
In terms of value.
I mean, in not the earliest one, but a byproduct of that we've spoken about is I don't know why I have to deal with a whole human when all I want is a good pair of hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the genius, do you see all the unique genius of each of them contributing equally valuably to the whole is not present. And that's all people want to do. True nature and purpose, Craig, right, is to contribute, to serve
Very big.
in a structure that says, no, you have to serve it this way.
Right.
A predetermined structure.
Or the premise that structure was built upon.
Right.
For me, that premise is that the human is damaged. In the first place.
So I go to listeners here in the call, and it's like, oh, how fascinating that Craig chose the word damaged. Not a word I would have chosen.
Yeah.
Craig chose it. Out of all of the words out there, Craig chose something, and his something was damaged. Craig's structure to damage means some things I can't understand.
Mm.
I wonder what that is. What could that be? How fascinating. Never considered it damaged. But Craig has. And more than likely, I don't know, but it's probably Craig considers structures himself as damaged.
Mm.
Way down deep
In the personality.
in the personality, he's identifying with the damaged, with this version, with this concept of damaged.
Yeah. And what's
To this-
interesting, it's
this
taken me a
structure.
number of decades to realize that that's not true,
Right.
that that's not.
Well, it's an underlying assumption that you wouldn't have seen on your own.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's where the 3 Gs came from.
mhm.
3 Gs is a premise that replaces damaged.
So then you got to realize what you are instead of what you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're not damaged, then what are you?
Complete.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But there's there's a huge chunk of that completeness that hasn't been realized yet.
Mhm.
Hasn't been manifested yet.
Yeah. But I know it exists.
So what's another word for realized? Give me 5 words around realized.
Well, made manifest is part of that.
Okay.
realized for me means brought into truth of reality, brought into reality.
Okay. Interesting. Truth. So how do you know it's true?
Because my heart says so. It's kind of that simple.
Mhm. Mhm.
And realized is conceptual first. And then it becomes eventually it becomes belief.
Whether for me or for you, what keeps dancing in the background is proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not damaged when there's proof.
Hmm. Why proof?
Why not anything else?
Yeah, I'm just wondering where that came from.
No, it's something, right?
Yeah.
I can't, whether it's mine, yours, or both of ours, right? Doesn't matter. But the word that I was looking for from you when it was around realization was then the proof, and so then I would connect it to the damage is what was there, right? So in that, like, to prove I'm not, like, how do I prove I'm not damaged? And the other way is to, how do I prove my genius?
That's actually the same question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And in the structure of the existing rules that are there, right, it won't be like we think it is.
Yeah.
We call that a transition to equal.
Yeah.
In an uncertain time, meaning not sure when that creation, that manifestation will be realized.
Yeah.
It's good to Allison puts it, so the structure of proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Proving is it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's there, it isn't there. So entangled with being right, doing right, getting it right. And so circling all the way back to that, you could see how a child would make up, I'm damaged if I can't get it right.
You know, what came up for me as I was listening, generation. I heard the regeneration come up, that word. And you know what the Bible says about regeneration? The Bible describes regeneration as a new creation.
Yeah.
And if anyone's in Christ, he is new creation. The old has passed. It's gone. And the new has come. And for that, when we spoke about the present of knowing that we can now start from here, letting go of the past, you know, the whole new of creating, being the creator and allowing it now to regenerate in others, to start where they are now, because that's really what happened yesterday for me. If that makes sense. Because that whole structure of what is wrong with me, and that even thinking what's wrong with you, because it's really reality. It's really what it is. But when you can get to that place where you can really, you know, make a new structure, because that's what happened yesterday. Just like that. But it wasn't just like that, but it felt like it was just like that. It just happened, you know, like, because if they didn't know, you know, of what was, they wouldn't be able to receive what is now, because I know. So that's the real beautiful structure of receiving the new as such. Because all the others that came where we are now, it's the old structure. It was the old thinking, the old patterns of what we took on in ancestral, or what we took on in society in general. But now as we get into the whole creation, being the creator, this is so much more that we can give to each other with support. Yeah.
Yeah, we've kind of taken that on by osmosis, that human beings are damaged, are inherently damaged, and that we're here to fix them. And that usually means to fix others, not to fix ourselves, right? It's never it's never about me. It's never about fixing my own damage. It's about fixing the damage that I see in everybody else. And it's all based on that assumption of damage.
Yeah. But if one heals the heart, you heal yourself.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and allowing the creation flow through you with imagination, with images, with symbols, with metaphor, just like God comes out with making little stories, giving us explanations. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it just enters right into the heart again, where literally universe is who you are. It's who, this is what it is. The absolute creation of who we are truly is in our heart. And that's what the practice of going into the heart and seeing that that's where God is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
But see, our society doesn't even allow for that approach as a possible solution.
Yeah, so that's what we coming to change. That's what we coming to change, not each other, but how we see each other, through the eyes of God sees. This is the power that's happening right now.
Hmm.
I think that's powerful, Nikki, that the awareness in that is that the proof is that we can change ourself. And the structure is that we want everyone else to change.
Yeah. Before we do.
Well, there's not even a before we do, because there's not even an awareness that I need to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not even so
Yeah, It's not even on the table.
again, me as the observer, I'm separate from the structure. I'm seeing it, I'm not including myself in it, is the generality, the general. Which removes us, the individual, from the structure. That's the curse.
Can you say that in another way?
So structure is you and something, me
okay.
and something. And what we do is when we view that something, we separate ourselves from that something, which means we observe it as a third party, as a detached observer. And that's what our language, that's the shortcut of our language. So if we're not in the structure, right, we're not a part of the equation. I'd hope I'd hope to say it's just a result and it wasn't designed that way, because it's a pretty dang good design. But not in an effective way.
If I'm not part of the structure, then
See, that's not even the thought of it though, right? But I can see it. So if we can, let's look through it. So if I'm not part of the structure, well, if I'm not part of the structure, what the hell am I going to do anything? Creation is there, right? So if I'm not part of the structure, the creation is going to be never come together. And I'm not part of the, it'll oscillate, it'll be stuck. Well, it's as much as momentum is wanting to create, right? Wanting momentum is still there, right? The overall momentum. but we'll never truly experience it when we are not part of the momentum, when we're not part of the structure. Because another word, I think, for structure is relation, related, relationship, and not relationship between a man and a woman, a son and a child,
No.
a child and a parent, but it related to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's ringing true for me too, actually.
I sort of circle back around to the other side of what we want, what you want, what I want, what people want. And our tendency of today's time is to look at all the things that we don't want, right? And like you said it, Craig, right? We do all these things that we don't want, assuming that will find what we do want. And at some point, probably, right?
Yeah.
And so our structure has become one of that our neurons that wire together, fire together. They wire all of the knots together. So people have spent a lot of time thinking about what they don't want.
And if that's where your focus is, that's what you're going to get, right?
That's bingo, right? Bingo. Under the assumption, right? The secret, the unwritten rule is you think you'll get it then.
Yeah, when you eliminate what you don't want.
Mm-hmm. Process of elimination. And what reality shows
You
up is
don't
just
want
more
the
and more
damage.
knots. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And what's the last word that's there that your unconscious is going to hold on to? Damage.
Damage. Mm.
So I was playing with it all. I've been playing with it all morning. And just the slight, subtle difference to listen to why people can't have what they want. Or have them tell us, like if we're coaching or guiding, why can't you have that? As the shortcut, because it shortcuts, it sidetracks the existing tendency of all the don'ts or all the why nots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we believed in what others thought of us, their opinions, the limitations of what they were going through, and they gave it, passed it down. It just was that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we bought into that whole damage thing.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
We
I mean, that's an underlying
absolutely
belief
did.
of all of
Yeah.
society right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So much restrictions, you know. Yeah. And then also growing up with having to know that, okay, if I could use the word poverty, like, that there was restrictions. So you couldn't have cheese and ham on your sandwich. You could only have cheese or ham. You could not have both.
Yeah.
And then just allowing somebody just to right in your face say, you're not special.
When it could have
There's
been like grateful for a cheese sandwich,
E-
or just a
Exactly.
ham
Yeah.
sandwich. Like that's
Yeah,
the
it didn't-
difference in scarcity and abundance. And people think it's
Exactly.
well, you could like you needed both of them, or you needed
Exactly.
caviar,
Yeah.
and it was like
Yeah.
no, like in that
No.
moment, it's like to be grateful for the ham or the cheese sandwich.
Exactly. And what better than a cheese sandwich? I mean, have you ever
Right.
had a cheese toasted?
Oh yeah, I still
Yeah.
like a ham and cheese sandwich.
Oh, wow. Just knock your socks off.
But there's a belief there that was established.
Absolute.
And the belief
absolute.
was that you can't have both.
Amen. That's why that's my experience.
Yeah.
I can only speak for myself. And that's what I took on, that belief of a very young age. Yeah. Mm. But then
Yeah,
again,
how many times have you wanted it all and you've been told over and over again that you can't?
yeah,
you can't have
and
it
the
all.
scarcity, we don't have the money, we don't
This,
have
but you can't have
we
this
don't-
too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, you just can't have it. Just can't have it. Mm. But then again, what happened in knowing that, I went into my imagination and felt that I could have it. That was the contrast. So it made me very, contradiction, because it wasn't in my reality, but internally I was just imagining it. Mm.
Earlier in this conversation, we were talking about having.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, when
Mm.
when you can come from a place of completeness and an
Mm.
assumption or a presumption of completeness,
Mm.
you have everything.
Mm.
You're complete. You
Mm.
have everything.
Mm. Mm.
Everything you need and want is already there. When you come from there,
Mm.
then that's all
Ah,
true for
so
you.
good. Mm. I mean, what happened yesterday for me was something that I've wanted my whole life, since I can remember, as far back. The love for my mother, the connection, just and it's just heart to heart connection, just present with me, being there. And it was just unfolded just like that. I mean, there was a piece of my heart that was always longing for that. The pain, when we spoke about the pain, that pain was so real for me. Really real. And it carried through my life. And that's why I understand that I sabotaged myself many, many, many times. It was me that was hurting me. But what's nice, when I say nice, it's a South African word that we use a lot, nice, interesting. But it just
Can we
was so
reframe that?
like, what must I reframe now?
You said I sabotaged myself.
Oh yeah, I did. Because I carried the pain.
Can you, yeah, I know. Could you say what I came to believe sabotaged me?
Craig, it was already in the past tense.
Mm.
Yeah, but
It was in reference, it was looking backwards. It wasn't.
Okay.
It's released already. It's already, she's just giving the contrast. She's speaking
Okay.
about it. So it's not as if it's a belief.
No. Yes, that's right. Yes.
What I'm saying is that there was an identification with it.
Was,
No.
again, was a past tense. Yeah.
There's nothing, there's absolutely nothing that
And
carrying.
that's her, yeah, that's her story. She's just sharing her
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 Mm. But it will come to me what I wanted to share in the end, because now my end is just a little on the. I have to just allow it to come back. It'll come back. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's what it was for me. Mm.
Yeah. I'll do my best to explain the structure then.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. It's like there's a structure. Now, two things, right? What we experienced yesterday, and this can happen to anything that we work with. We can either wait for it to show up and experience it. And your example was for your mom just to turn around, give you a hug and say, I love you. Your version of it, your
Yes,
experience
yes,
of it. But it
yes.
was like that never happened. You were unable to experience that in your life,
Mm.
in your like your physical life here. We'll call that, maybe we call that reality. Yesterday in your structure, you were able to imagine that she did.
Yeah.
Your mind created that she turned around and gave you what you were looking for.
Yeah.
You had to step into it. You stepped into the space of that structure and said,
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself what I need.
Come on.
I'm
And that's
gonna
my
give
genius.
myself, yes, go.
That's my genius,
Yeah, it
Jesse.
is. Yeah, it
That's
is.
my
Yeah.
genius.
It's all of
Can I
our
share
genius
something?
is.
Yeah, but Jesse, this is my experience that you experienced, yeah? So I'm not I'm allowing that what is unfolding now, that you just opened something even more deeper for me, because as a number 2 as an immigrant, yeah, I know what people maybe need, but my actual genius is to give it to myself. Yeah, it's actually to give it to myself. It's my own absolute tapping into my own genius.
Mhm.
And because I thought it was selfish to give to me, yeah,
Yes,
but it actually selfless.
yes. Look at that
And so now
structure.
that gave me the possibilities now to tap into my genius, because in society, I'm a fool. I'm not disgracing myself. I am a fool. I do not have any qualifications. Trust. And so this path that, as God says, all's new, all old, all new, when you keep on knowing. And for me, I can truly say that this is now, the now that I get to reconstruct anything and everything right now. How I choose it now, how I want my thoughts to emerge, and how I want to interact, and who I want to interact with, who I want to spend my time with. And I'm very comfortable being by myself. In fact, I like my own company. Before it wasn't, because I felt I wasn't invited to parties and I wasn't invited. But in that structure, I was renewing all my core values of what I'm choosing. And now that everything that is coming, I'm not surprised. If I have to see it now from a full picture, I can say thank you. Yeah, so I can truly say thank you. Because it was more than that. There's so many layers. It's just, as I said, it comes in waves. It's like processing it in such a beautiful, like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Because damage was my label. I was labeled damaged. That's what I was labeled.
Yep.
I was told in my face to my parents, just put her aside. She's not gonna amount to anything. She's a vegetable. Literally. Yeah. So, yeah. So I don't know, but what I do know is here I am. And that's what really matters now. So for anyone else's opinion, that is she worth it? Is she deserving? Who does she think she is? Could she this? Could she that? No. I don't think of myself as anything than just my own. And I think that gives me a lot of strength.
Yeah.
Life longs for itself. I've longed for myself. I've longed for my truth. I've longed to know, who am I? Like, who am I? Because I didn't have when I say I didn't have choice, I wasn't allowed to choose. That's the truth. I was told or otherwise. And there was nothing of like a positive plus, there was a negative.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of restrictions of, if you do not follow through, you'll be, it was severe. And your body, I knew that I didn't want that. So what happened? I suppressed it. I didn't give it to myself because I thought I wasn't allowed to. But now having to release that, because it was definitely from my mother's side, this ancestral block, sabotage, identity, definitely from my mother's side. And I witnessed that yesterday. So I know this because I know it wasn't my father, it was my mother. As much as my father played in a role, but it was this particular thing was from my mother's side.
Yeah. Does that make any difference?
No, it doesn't. But for me, internalizing that I wanted to release my mother for years and years and years.
Okay.
But now I know.
You know, and the space for your genius, like
Yeah.
to see just the structure, the opposites, like structure is always an opposite. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I thought if I gave it to everyone else, then I would
There's
get
it.
what I wanted in return. Then I would
That's
get
right.
everything that I gave out, I'd get it back.
Correct.
And it's
No,
and
many
you to
big
say,
mistake.
look, go the other way with it, yes. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
subtle, again, that subtleness to it, but
Subtleness.
makes all the difference in the
All
world.
the difference. All the
It's from
difference.
depletion to expansion. I mean, that is the difference in just that phrase, just that orientation.
Yes. Yes. And that having and not having, or not, it is now allowing, as we've
Yeah.
used this word so many times in sessions, allowing, because even when we ask the question, allowing, I allow, the allowing, it's a very powerful, to allow, to have what you want, to give yourself that permission, and also with having that sense of wonder of what was happening yesterday, because it was wonder. It was just so wonderful, just wonderful, wonderful space to be, wonderful. My mother's essence, it was as sweet as could ever be. It could ever be. And it was, as I said, don't have to be here in the physical. She was with me. It was beautiful. It was just beautiful. And I always said to my mother, I want to be your friend. You know, I know, like, you know, you want to be your mother's friend, but I really wanted to be my mother's best friend. It's all this best business, but I wanted her to be a friend to me, you know. And I think I have been, and I was.
That's structure, right? Moving it from one that was stuck to opening a crack where you could say and see is like, oh, I could see how I was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And part of like what you were, when we think about what we want as a today's time and place, like people, when we think about what we want, we say, oh, we think everything's going to come to us. We think all of it will show up. And I think that's a mistake. Like, no, we have to take it piece by piece by piece.
Yeah.
Because we haven't thought about it. When we think about what we want, we think everything will be showered upon us. Like it'll just, like heaven will just open up and rain it all down on us, our wishes, our, you know, and it's like, no, I think we have to take our focus, our moment and say, oh no, this is this one's this one's this, and we just start peeling back all the layers, and then they begin to show up. Then that realization, that manifestation, that proof begins to appear. So I think that's another mistake we make, is that, oh, it's the one time I remove this one block and all of it comes to me.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
I mean, you think about how ridiculously insane that is, yet that's what we believe.
Yeah. The thing is, there's a truth of your completeness, but then there's the experience of it, or the realization of it. That's gradual. It's incremental, but it can't happen all at once. It can't. Yeah. It can't come into your experience all at once. I mean, it could come into your experience all at once, but you'd be probably a basket case.
I tend to think of them, it's like we're able to unpack them as they were laid down.
Yeah. Well, and as room is made for them.
Yeah.
To appear. So for me, a lot of what's going on is that stuff that opposes that truth is being removed and let go of, to make space for the truth to occupy that space.
Key word, allowed.
Yeah. I mean, generally, human beings don't like that definition of manifesting, but that's kind of what it's coming to for me, anyway. Conceive, believe, and achieve, according to our friend Napoleon Hill. It tends to be in that order.
Even just that in itself validates the point that it just all can't come up one time.
Mm-hmm.
So all I say I want everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still means we have to be specific and pointed to what we want. And it validates, it goes back to the point, even if we focus on everything we don't want, we need to be focusing on what we do want.
Yeah.
And when we're working with others, I think a big piece of that is what we is to look at in it is also look at why can't they have it?
Yeah.
And that's uniquely for everyone. Uniquely different is the flavor of that, because they were all laid down under different environments, under different situations. Well, guys, what a great morning. Structure's been on my mind, so thanks for working structure.
Oh, this was so epic. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. And happy 4th of July.
Yeah. Happy 4th. Enjoy your day, your celebration, your whatever
Oh,
you
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Bye, guys.
do. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
Craig.
Bye, Nikki. Big love.
Bye, Craig.
Wow. Hey, can you post the link to this video in the group?
Sure.
And one other thing too, I want to make sure that I posted a video from Instagram in there yesterday. And I think I sent it directly to you too. Make sure that you watch that.
I think I did. I mean, I went through the ones that you'd sent me, I believe, unless it was later in the afternoon. Remind me, what was it about? Or
It was a black girl coming to the realization that she.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved it. Oh, it was.
And it was holy crap. Like she had her moment there and she caught it on film. So it was like amazing.
Yeah. And the connection that was there, I thought it, and I tried to remember it yesterday because I did watch it. I was like, but that connection is fundamental. Oh, it was such a beautiful connection.
Yeah, exactly.
In the lines of what you're thinking about is what you're creating, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, Jesse, I love you. Have a great day.
No, thanks, Craig. Love you too, man. You have a great one too.
Okay.